Welcome back, Module 5. Module 5, we're dealing with chemical contaminants rule. So we talked about the lead and copper, now we're looking at the primary standards that are set by EPA and the contaminants that we're going to test either every 3 years or a minimum of every annually or every year for surface plants. All right, we're going to discuss the regulatory overview of the chemical contaminants. We'll determine monitoring requirements for them, as well as look at maximum contaminant levels. We'll identify contaminants of concerns and talk about various chemicals and contaminant treatment options that are there. When was the Safe Drinking Water Act promulgated?
76.
How about 74? 1974.
Yeah, 74 to revise it.
Right.
I was in school.
1974 is when it first, and when you think about it, that wasn't too long ago, was it? Yeah, so prior to that, what did we do?
I was just a baby.
You were just a baby?
No, not really.
Yeah,
I was older. I was
like me, you got started at 3 too, huh?
I was in middle school.
All right. So it was not so long ago that really they started looking in detail. Okay, King Richard. Looking in detail at very specific chemicals and contaminants that had health effects. EPA, by congressional mandate in 1987, identified 65 of these contaminants. And what the mandate was, we want you to look at it, do the research, and come back and tell us what the health effects from these contaminants are. From this particular mandate, they established the maximum contaminant levels for each chemical. And again, that's the legal threshold on the amount of substance that is allowed in public drinking water, of public water systems under the Safe Drinking Act. Usually the limit is expressed in milligrams per liter or micrograms per liter, and it is set very close to the health goals as possible. Remember, the health goal is that level where there is no known health effect. That's the goal. And we try to set the limits as close as possible to that goal. Now, you were talking earlier about copper, lead pipes, copper pipes. Does anybody, what about TEEX? We don't know TEEX. And if you're following some of the, I guess, language and stuff that's out there, you say PVC, that plastic bottle, there are some research that's out there right now, even on that, especially in instance where it gets too cold or you freeze the water, what's released. So studies are being done out there. And unfortunately, it's like when we first started using chlorine. Chlorine is probably the best invention during the 20th century than anything else, because it did prevent a lot of diseases that were caused by water. But yet, early 90s and prior, what did we find out about chlorine? Created byproducts. And now we're concerned with it because they're cancer causing. So research studies are constantly being, conducted absolutely. And when they know, we know, we make the adjustment based on the rules and regulations that are put out here. In the meantime, keep all your fingers and toes crossed.
It's kind of like the butter and the margarine.
Yeah.
Depends on his thing for the commercial.
All right, so EPA established the following removal of the 65 chemical contaminants. Again, they set the MCLs and the maximum contaminant level goals. And as was pointed out earlier, I think Lori pointed it out, is that these are non-enforceable health goals on the goals. They're goals. They're things that we strive to achieve, but they're not enforceable. And also, there's no adverse health effect at this level.
But what's the deal with unregulated chemicals?
There again, it goes back to this. We know that there may be an issue. It's like the chlorine, the byproducts, but you have to have the data. If it's not recorded, if it's not studied, if it's not researched, we really don't know the ramification. And usually that process takes time. So with the unregulated chemicals, that's what they're doing. They're going through that process. And at the end of the study period, then, you know, either it'll be regulated or not.
So if that's fine, when they find out it's really bad or something, then they'll make it a,
That's just the way things work. When you look at drug approval, it's the same scenario. Did I forget to turn it on, or are we on? Yes. Tommy, you were supposed to keep me straight on
I
this.
didn't see no light on it.
Okay, cool. The other thing that was a part of this would be the monitoring requirement, and we will talk about that as well as the best available technologies. Now, in some cases, there are some technologies that are just awesome out there, reverse osmosis being one. But if I am a small system and I can achieve the same quality of water without RO, then in some cases I'm allowed to use a lesser technology in order to achieve my goals. So we don't always go with the best, or there's that leeway, especially for smaller systems. There are 3 contaminant groups that are part of this primary standards or chemical list. We have the inorganic chemicals, the synthetic organic chemicals, and the volatile organic chemicals. Hexavalent organic chemicals are not a part of the 3 groups.
I got that right now.
I don't know that.
That is not a part.
I've never seen
So,
that.
we have the IOCs, the SOCs, the VOCs. You have a table in your book or a chart in your book, figure on page 5-7, the regulated chemical contaminants, and it goes on for several pages. On here, it's going to tell you what type of contaminant it is, the maximum contaminant level that's in that blue column, the possible or potential health effect is the other things, where the source is, as well as the public health goals. So real good information there that you can review at your leisure. Now what about bottled water? Are we regulating bottled water the same as public water systems?
Nope.
No, we're not. But yet we're paying a whole lot more for it. And again, there is no telltale proof that it is as good or treated to as high quality as a public water system. So it may be more aesthetically pleasing, but it could be chemically laden with something that's putting me out. How do I know? I don't know unless I perform the test. You got to run the analysis to see what's there. Now, the truth of the matter, most of your bottled water is probably a reverse osmosis process, which will remove quite a lot of everything. So it's probably good
Unless
to go.
it's not properly maintained.
Yeah. It's probably good to go, but it's not as regulated. And that's the problem. It's not as regulated. So it's possible to have some of these chemical contaminants present.
Now, Tommy, we used to have that system that was a bottled water bottle, remember?
Yeah, but they're taking city water and they're put it to charcoal, taking chlorine out, and then through reverse osmosis, and then add minerals for taste and stuff like that.
So when you tested it,
Yeah. Well, one place we had the water still had stuff because they improperly cleaned the equipment and they came up with an E. coli like that. But like so most purified water is gonna be safe. This is just spring water. Because it's spring water, you don't know. They just run it through a filter. They just pour it in a bottle. They're not regulated.
There's no disinfection.
Yeah. So the purified water should be safe. So if you have a grocery store, because it's purified, it's already chlorinated water.
In other words, they're marketing it in such a way because consumers paying twice for their water. Yeah. All right, health concerns with these contaminants. Cancer issues, higher risk of cancer, organ damage, circulatory problems, nervous system, reproductive disorders, as well as the blue baby syndrome that we talked about associated with the nitrites, nitrates. All public water systems must monitor for nitrites and nitrates. All public water systems must monitor for those. Community water system, non-transient, non-community systems must monitor for the inorganics, the synthetic organics, and the volatiles. So do you understand the difference between the different systems? Public water system, 15 service connections, at least 25 individuals, 60 days. You fall up under that, you're doing the nitrates and nitrites. If you're providing potable water for human consumption, year-round basis, you fall under the CWS or community. You got to do that plus all of this too. Make sense? Now, EPA has a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful guide that's out there for standardized monitoring framework. And what I did was just copy and paste it from their site. Why reinvent the wheel? But it gives you a quick reference of the contaminants that you should be monitoring for, as well as the frequency, all the way to year 2019, 2019, yes. So this is excellent here. It was promulgated again after the Phase 2 rule, January 30th, 1991, to consolidate things for easy reference there. Again, the regulated contaminants that we're concerned with, as far as the inorganics, there are about 15 of them. Now, nitrite, nitrates, total, and all of that asbestos are exceptions to this particular guide here that's set forth. Synthetic organic contaminants, volatiles, we have 51 that we're monitoring. Radionuclides, there are 4 of them that must be monitored. Now, who is covered? All public water systems, remember, do the nitrate, nitrite. Community systems are going to do the IOCs, SOCs, VOCs, radionuclides, as well as nitrite, nitrate, because they are public water systems too. And so your non-transient, non-community ones will do these, plus the nitrate, nitrite, but they are not mandated to do the radionuclides. Okay? And for easy point of reference, when you see the 1 asterisk, simply means 1 sample at each entry point to the distribution system. 2 asterisk would mean 2 quarterly samples at your entry points. 4 would be quarterly samples. And if you see an X, it means no sampling there is required, unless by the primacy agency.
You don't have these in the book, right? You said
They're not in the book, but I'll give you a website where you can go. This is just a little quick guide that EPA has
It's
out
on
there.
EPA's website.
Absolutely, and get this. And here are all of your parameters, and again, I like it because I can see at a glance which period, how much sampling I'm going to need to do where. All right, with a waiver, did we discuss what a waiver is?
We briefly covered it with the lead copper.
Okay, so briefly explain to me what the waiver was, Lori.
Well, for lead and copper, I mean, they still have to do the testing. There's just a longer period of time where they, there's a 9-year waiver for lead and copper. I'm not from Mississippi, but.
You get the bond. You get the bond because you got it right. In other words, a waiver is very similar to an exemption. It does not get you out of doing the analysis or the testing, but it gives you longer time to achieve it. Okay? And so with the waiver, you can see here for groundwater, and most of you all are groundwater, right? Groundwater for the inorganics here, they have a 9-year period with the waiver in order to accomplish that sampling during the 2nd and 3rd cycle. If you don't have a waiver, and you're still below the action or the trigger level, then the key is to request the waiver, always request. If you are a groundwater system with no waiver, you're doing it once every 3 years. And typically that's what we see because that's the standard, that's the rule. Groundwater facilities must monitor at least once every 3 years all the primary standards or contaminants, okay? But if you get that waiver, you can show why this is not an issue in your area. And do the analysis prior to doing the first cycle so you can get a waiver in. If if you are a groundwater system and you are above the trigger level, if you notice what happened now, the frequency may start depending on where above the trigger level you was. If you were less than the maximum contaminant level, consistently or equal to the MCL, you're still doing it once every 3 years. If you were greater than the maximum contaminant level consistently, again, you're going to go to a more frequent analysis once a quarter, on a quarterly basis. For synthetic, smaller systems, again, below the trigger level, we're still looking at either not doing it at all, or again, if it was detected, less than the detect, no waiver, you may be doing it twice within that period, 3-year period. So this is a real nice quick guide that you can utilize and look at a snapshot. And it'll tell you for the nitrite, nitrate, radionuclides, again, depending on where you fall. So this is a website, the OGEPA website for that quick reference guide. All right, this is the same framework that we have in the book. We tried to consolidate it, but I wanted you to see that you can visually see it all laid out there for you. But the time frame for your second and third compliance all the way up to, again, 2019. So you cannot say as a small system, I was unaware of what I should be doing. And we did get a lot of that in one of the others, but we don't know what to monitor. No one's ever told us. It's out there. You should be in contact with your state agency when in doubt.
I have a question about
Yes, sir.
that. Go back to that. The compliance for a second I sampled in 2008. So 3 years later, I should be getting one in 2011. But it's a monitoring period. It's 2011 to 2013, right?
What you're looking
That's
at
the
here,
next
it's
period
a 3 year.
starts. I'm looking from 2008 to third period.
Right.
And then
And
you go
then
to-
we start the third compliance cycle, which begins in 2011.
But it begins, but it doesn't end until the end of 2013.
Right, that's the 3 years.
So if I went from 2008 to 2013, I actually went 6 years, but I'm still okay because I'm in the monitoring period. That's
You
more
just
than 3 years.
confused me, George, as
Yeah,
what you're saying.
If it goes
technically, yes, you are, because the
Because-
reg rules say you got one sample in a compliance monitoring period.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-year period, 3-year time frame, so yes, you collected one from 2008, you gotta get the next monitoring period, which would be 11, 12, and 13. You get 13.
So it's
yes,
actually
you
getting
are.
longer than 3 years, but I'm still okay because I'm in the monitoring period.
Yes.
But did they have a rule?
See? It gets-
But again,
it
it's
gets
once
confusing.
every 3 years. We're talking semantic, and I just have to go back to, again, what I know as far as in Texas, if I'm pulling, again, my samples, let's say January 2008.
Right.
I don't get the opportunity to decide whether or not I'm going to pull them January 2012 because I've exceeded my 3-year time frame. I don't know if I'm addressing what you're
Yeah,
saying.
you are. You're saying
Okay.
what I'm doing is incorrect. I should be doing it every 3 years.
Well, you should be doing it every 3 years, but the way the rules are written is very vague, and it would technically allow you to do that 6 years.
You will technically,
Technically,
not
it would
allowed
allow
in
you.
Texas, it's like every 3 years, you gotta do a new
Yeah.
report.
With
Very
lead
good.
copper, they actually have it in there though, stating that it can be greater than
Right,
the 3
That's why with the rag rule, they change it every 3, 6, 9 years. But with the SSC rule, way it's written in the reg, you technically could go out to 6 years, or not 18 years if you're on a 9-year waiver.
make sure
But we don't
the
allow
state privacy agency has given it to you in writing.
I just asked the boss.
We say
And
three-
even when you ask the boss,
Okay,
make
boss,
sure
can I
it's
get it?
in writing. Make sure it's in writing. Because again, when we're putting out those CCRs and all of that, our state agency's like, okay, if you collect it, cannot be outside the 3 year, that's a violation.
That's why I get confused about this. I'm real rigid. If it says 3 years, it should be 3 years, no more than to the dead.
Yeah,
Okay? But with these other rules, there's flexibility in the rule that says, well, you could go up to 2013 and it's still okay.
If you have the approval from the state agency or waiver.
We did it every 3 years before the standard monitor framework was ever built.
Okay,
And then I think the standard monitor framework was, you know, was a great
opened up all those
idea.
questions and it was
Yeah,
like, okay,
it
we got
did.
some more flexibility.
Yeah, I think so. And I, you know, the way I refer to it is gotta fall in a box. But now I think EPA is kind of wised up and they're writing the newer regulations to say, you know, you can put it back like it was.
Because you can
Like
have
they
everybody
intended.
just picking and choosing.
Yeah, I think when EPA
Yeah.
did it, they meant to be says to be every 3 to 6 years. It
Okay.
meant to be that way, but I think the way they worded it, they realized they screwed up on that part, and that's why when I know with the Radley thing, I did it 3, 6, 9 years.
Loopholes in
And they,
there.
yeah, they realized they're trying to refix that now.
Yeah, and especially with the disinfection byproducts, that would have to be done each quarter.
Yes.
But the water systems were taking full advantage of that flexibility to avoid the warm weather months and things, and now they got
And
very
that's when they
specific.
say
said
they
90
want to make
days.
sure that you're doing it during the warm months, especially for the smaller systems that are not doing it on a quarterly basis.
Well, sometimes we get higher distribution costs in the winter because some people are gone and the water's there longer and older.
That's also why they said every 90 days now for stage 2 versus every quarter. They gotta go every 90 days.
So interesting conversation.
We aim to please.
There you go, thank you. All right, monitoring waivers for ILCs, VLCs, SOCs, again, reduced sampling can be once every 3, 6, or 9 years. That's out there. For specified contaminants, now if you're gonna leave my class, you gotta leave quietly. You're taking all the students.
You forgot your name.
You're no longer looking at me.
We're gonna miss you.
Thanks so much for attending.
Thank you.
Appreciate having you for the time frame that you reached.
That's yours.
No, I got one right
Yeah.
Sharon, you need me to come and sit next to you?
there. No.
I figured he told me he was
Bye, Rich.
Sorry.
And his name really is Danny, but in my mind now it's Richard. King Richard I. All right. For specified contaminants based on the vulnerability assessment, you may have to show, again, contaminants has not been used in the area. This helps you to get that waiver, or the system is not susceptible to the contamination. But you've got to do the assessment in order to have the proof when you go and beg the state privacy agent, give me a waiver, or this is the reason why I shouldn't be doing this as frequently. Have your ducks in a row. And the analytical results of the previous sampling, which they should already have anyway. You want to make sure that you have yours to back up your request. Now, the maximum contaminant level, remember those are legally enforceable standards of contaminant levels are. The goal is to protect the public health by limiting those particular contaminants in their drinking water. Figure 5.1 again gives you the list of contaminants, the MCLs, the potential health effect from long-term exposure, and the source of contamination in public health. Now, earlier, King Richard asked about the unregulated chemical. It takes time to do all of the research in order to get the long-term exposure. We got to have that information, okay, before we can say, yes, this is something we really need to be concerned with, and that it's feasibly, we have a way of removal in it. All right, some of the contaminants, and we are on page 5-13 at this point. Some of the contaminants that we are concerned about, more so than not, fall in the inorganic contaminant range or levels that we were looking at. Arsenic, fluoride, nitrate, radium, and uranium. All of these are inorganic. Now, it's reasonable to expect that some of this is in our drinking water in very, very small, minute amount. Why? Because water is a universal solvent. And if Bureau groundwater source. And we have various types of rock formation with these elements already present. As the water kind of flows over the rock formation, what's going to happen? A lot of that stuff will be dissolved into our drinking water source. So we know reasonable small amounts that may be present. However, EPA has said reasonably small amounts, good, the body needs them, but when they get over a certain level, now we start seeing ill health effect. We need to be very, very concerned to make sure, again, we're removing it from the water, so we're protecting public health.
You know what the difference is between radium and uranium?
Uranium is one of the ones that they just recently added. It's still a radioactive material, but as far as the specific difference, no. You want to tell us?
I was just wondering because we do rads, and then rads, I kept thinking like uranium and all that
226
stuff.
and
Yeah.
228. It's
So I
a
thought maybe
different
they were
element.
connected in some way.
Yeah, different element with the uranium just recent, I say recently, 2000 added. It was one that was a part of the unregulated for years, but now it's one of the regulated ones. All right, arsenic, semi-metal element, odorless, tasteless, gets into the drinking water from the natural deposits. How do you think most of the radioactive material gets into our drinking water?
Naturally consumed.
So naturally and not man-made deposits and dumps?
Or a granite sand maybe? You got radon, isn't that closely related to the radium?
It is, it is.
The Delaware is all sand particles. We don't have any stones, foundations, you know, we just
Look at
what a
north.
mud
Coastal
bath.
plain,
North is rock.
Yeah.
Okay. Arsenic was used as a wood preservative. It's in paint, dyes, metals. It also has an agricultural application, mining and smelting. And so again, it is something that can also be naturally occurring. Health effects, skin damage, circulatory problems, increased cancer risk. The regulation, the goal is what? Zero, which means what? That's the level that there's no ill health effects. Zero, that's the goal. The action, the maximum contaminant level, 0.01. And this is also a recent change because it used to be 0.05 milligrams per liter.
0.010.
Huh?
0.010.
Okay, she put that other zero on the end of it also. And then we get into significance, non-significant digits. Excellent. All right, how does it get into the water? Erosions of natural deposit, runoff from the arcades, runoff from glass, electronic production waste, and if you have any type of underground facilities, and you are creating this byproduct or production waste, you got to report annually the release of these chemicals under the Emergency Planning Community Right to Know Act.
We have a lot of chicken houses in Delaware, and they give the chickens arsenic as a preventative. It kills mites. So all the chicken waste and the chicken litter that they spread on the fields contain
So
slime.
don't eat the chicken here. Don't drink the water. Really? Wow. Okay, that's interesting. So do you all usually have high levels of arsenic?
No, we usually, it's really deep, like in 500 or 600 feet deep, these really deep wells where it's
Okay.
naturally occurring. And what we're afraid of is that we're soon going to start seeing it in the shallow groundwater wells, drinking wells because of this practice.
So we got areas that have, most of them have natural fluoride, there's arsenic. There's an area in Delaware there, yeah, it's pretty prevalent.
Not too many.
Isn't that the same as what causes the high nitrates too?
Oh, we can't keep picking on the chicken farmers.
Yeah, we don't attack the farm.
We want to, but
Farm
we're
Ask the
guys
box
in
supervisor.
Delaware. It didn't say anything bad about agriculture.
That's fine.
That's not just the chicken, I mean, it can be any,
Yeah, so the septic systems
any
and.
type of manure. that
Yeah.
can cause
It's
it.
fertilizer, very, very
Dairy
high.
farmers.
Yeah.
Different.
All right, fluoride. He brings up fluoride. It's the next slide. Fluoride. Small amounts, depending on what side of the fence, it promotes good dental health. It prevents cavities. But in larger amounts, now we start seeing issues. Now, fluoride is one of the few that is actually on your primary list as well as your secondary contaminant list. Fluoride is on both. Okay. On your primary contaminants, those are the ones that we know there is a health issue associated with it. So fluoride over 4 milligrams per liter, that is a primary. On the aesthetic side, it's almost like the MCL, the MCL goes. Secondary ones, those are the things that are aesthetically pleasing. It has a limit of 2 milligrams per liter. Now that's one of the ones that's on both. So health effects, bone fractures, pitting of the tooth enamel, or modeling is what we refer to it, because that's what starts to happen initially, the brown staining of the teeth, and then you start getting the degradation of that enamel altogether.
And then if you got fluoride water, you're not supposed to use fluoride toothpaste.
Danny.
Most groundwater system may add fluoride to their waters.
I heard that.
Well, but
From
it's
a
so
class. It's not true?
on the internet or.
I don't do computer.
I love that commercial. Don't you hear
That's what
that?
made me bug.
From a French boy, please.
Probably a rural water class.
By King Richard, to let you in on a little secret, not only is fluoride added to most systems to keep it at least between 0.7 and 1, or added if it's not naturally occurring, you're going to have it in your toothpaste, a lot of bottled waters.
Yeah, they were saying you don't
Also
want to be
adding
you don't want to be
in.
taking all these different things.
Yeah.
You should just stay with
So-
one, because they were having problems with people getting too much.
No.
It was in one of the classes I took.
Supposed to
Start
stab
looking
your
at the
toothpaste.
teeth. Start looking at the teeth.
You're not supposed to swallow your toothpaste.
Don't swallow.
All right.
Moving on.
So regulatory as a primary standard, we're looking at 4 as the goal, as well as the limit as a secondary standard 2. Yes, ma'am, it's Anita?
In Delaware, we have 2 as our primary and our secondary. We're more stringent than EPA here.
Thank you for bringing that out, because again, the state agencies always have a right to be more stringent than EPA. EPA is the big umbrella. We all fall up under EPA. But if for whatever reason you're having an issue with water quality and you know that's an issue for your area, you can always need to be more stringent than the EPA. And with that, really, I am out of time, although we're not through with this module. It is lunch time. And so we will pick up here after lunch. So hold your questions and we will address them at that time.